Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're breaking down a really fascinating business lesson. From costly mistakes to perfect cabinets, we're going to see exactly how one factory totally turned their workflow around. Okay, let's dive into this. How much are small software errors really costing your factory? Our source material today starts with a pretty stark realization from a business owner who was just bleeding money. And at first, they literally couldn't figure out why. On the surface, the production software they were using seemed totally fine. But hidden just beneath those daily operations was this massive, invisible financial drain. They were dealing with what they called small software errors. And hey, it's super easy to brush off a tiny tech glitch as just a nuisance, right? But what happens when that digital nuisance translates into physical, real-world manufacturing? Well, you get this really dangerous domino effect on the factory floor. It starts right at step one with those seemingly insignificant software errors. But here's the thing. A wrong dimension or a misplaced cut line in the computer immediately forces the next domino to fall. And that's step two, actual physical production mistakes. Wood gets cut incorrectly. Expensive materials are just totally wasted. Which brings us right to step three. Because you have to redo all that work, you're duplicating effort and suddenly you're missing deadlines. In fact, our source noted that previously they were sometimes delivering projects late to clients by several months. Let that sink in. And look, when you don't deliver, you don't get paid. That leads us to the heaviest, most damaging domino of all in step four, severely damaged cash flow. I actually want to pause on this quote pulled directly from the business owner because it just hits the nail on the head. Quote, "Every small mistake directly hit our cash flow. That was the main reason I decided to change. This wasn't just about frustration or annoyance anymore, guys. This was literally about survival. When small digital errors cascade into late deliveries, you lose your operational oxygen. That intense pain point, the loss of financial stability, became their absolute breaking point. It was the catalyst that basically forced them to stop accepting the status quo and aggressively seek out a whole new operational system." Section 2. The turning point to success. Now, what's really interesting about this is that usually adopting complex design programs, like AutoCAD, for example, is a massive barrier to entry, especially since this particular business owner had absolutely zero technical background, none. But amazingly, the new software they evaluated, which is called Cabinet Vision, was incredibly easy to pick up. The owner realized right away that they could master the platform quickly and, more importantly, teach it directly to their team. So that huge fear of a steep, agonizing learning curve completely eliminated. Now, the transition didn't happen overnight, obviously, but it was remarkably efficient. We're talking a 3-month implementation period. And this wasn't just some transaction where they bought software and were left to figure it out all by themselves. It was a true partnership. Over those 3 months, the software provider gave them expert advice that went way beyond just clicking buttons. They provided holistic workflow solutions. They actually sat down, analyzed the factory's messy processes, and helped them implement a fundamentally new, dramatically simplified way to tackle their daily work. Section 3. Tangible results, the data-driven transformation. All right, we're starting with the number 5, and this brilliantly illustrates the sheer power of an optimized workflow. By adopting this new system, they were able to completely eliminate more than 5 redundant, repetitive steps from their daily production process. Just imagine taking your team's entire workday and wiping out 5 complex steps that were previously causing friction, slowing everybody down, and basically acting as a breeding ground for mistakes. The instant boost in efficiency across that factory floor was absolutely palpable. And here is where the data gets truly staggering. Under the old way of doing things, the design team would take anywhere from 1 to 2 entire days just to finish the plans for a single room to send over to production. 1 to 2 whole days. But with the new workflow, that exact same workload, designing a single room for production, was slashed down to just 2 to 3 hours. They literally bought back entire days of time on every single project. That is a massive, undeniable return on investment that fundamentally changes how much work a business can actually take on. And then we arrive at the absolute most critical number of all, 0. 0 production errors. Remember that domino effect we looked at earlier? The one causing material waste and months of painful delays? Well, that is completely gone. Every single project now moves from the computer straight to the factory floor flawlessly. So the crucial point is this: when you have 0 errors, you have 0 work duplication. And when you don't have to duplicate work, you finally have the power to deliver your product perfectly on time every single time. And that totally restores your reputation with your clients. Section 4.
A stable, growing future.
All of this built into an incredible overarching business impact. Because they're no longer wasting wood on bad cuts, they finally have strict control over their material costs. Because their team is working so efficiently, their fixed costs are stable. Because they are delivering on time, their cash flow is vastly improved and, most importantly, reliable. Essentially, they reverse that domino effect we talked about earlier. The sum of all these parts is a dramatically higher overall productivity for the entire organization. The dominoes are finally falling in the right direction. With this rock-solid, stable foundation in place, the owner's mindset completely shifted. They're no longer stuck in survival mode, just running around putting out fires on the factory floor every day. Instead, they're looking outward. They are now actively focusing on expanding their market and growing their customer base with total confidence. They know their production line can handle the volume, and they know the quality is going to be flawless. I mean, this is the ultimate goal of optimizing your business, right? So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought today. Are your current tools holding your business back? If you're in the manufacturing or furniture industry and you're experiencing mysterious delays, unexplainable material costs, or late deliveries, the problem might not be your people. It might just be the invisible errors hiding inside the tools you use every single day. Take a lesson from this amazing transformation. Evaluate your systems, eliminate those errors, and get your business growing again. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.